It turns out kidnapping the leader of a foreign nation and his wife was not enough. The Trump administration has their eyes set on some next targets, and they're very open and blatant about it. Here is Trump on Air Force One speaking with reporters, and Colombia is on his mind.
And successful, and where the oil is allowed to freely come out because that's good. It gets the prices down. That's good for our country. Now, we have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor, and that's Venezuela. It's very sick. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long?
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S.
It sounds good to me. Yeah. You know why? Because they kill a lot of people, yeah.
Here's Marco Rubio on with Meet the Press, and, he wants a little piece of Cuba.
The Cuban government, the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary, very quickly.
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
is that a yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire, internal security force, his internal security apparatus is entirely controlled by Cubans. One of the untold stories here is how, in essence, you talk about colonization, because I think you said Dulce Rodriguez mentioned that. The ones who have sort of colonized, at least inside the regime, are Cubans. It was Cubans that guarded Maduro. He was not guarded by Venezuelan bodyguards. Right. He had Cuban bodyguards. In terms of their internal intelligence, who spies on who inside to make sure there are no traitors, those are all Cubans.
Here is Trump's puppeteer, Stephen Miller, on with Jake Tapper of CNN, and they are discussing Greenland. That seems to be a new prize resurfaced in the eyes of the Trump administration.
Important topic. The premier of Greenland and the premier of Denmark and other Danish officials are responding to a Twitter post from your wife, Katie Miller, herself a former Trump White House official, showing Greenland covered with an American flag, saying soon. After that was posted, President Trump repeated the claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security reasons. The Danish prime minister responded to this in an interview earlier today, as reported by Bloomberg, quote, "I believe one should take the American president seriously when he says it wants Greenland, but I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War." Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back a step. The president has been clear for months now, so I know you're treating this as breaking news. The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United States,
but your wife posted that hours after the Venezuela operation.
No, but
that's why it's newly relevant.
No, I'm not, and I'll talk with you about it for an hour. I think it's a really important conversation. I just wanted to reset, Jake, by making clear that it has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard to, which again, is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out the United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland. So
One last question,
doesn't
Stephen.
make any sense.
One last question.
So there it is. Stephen Miller, the Trump administration, brazenly open about jeopardizing NATO, our defense alliance against, well, our supposed enemies. Just, putting it up there like, well, we'll see what happens. We want Greenland. We just want to take Greenland from Denmark, and we'll see what happens with NATO. Insane stuff going on. Here is Trump again echoing pretty much the words of Stephen Miller there on the topic of Greenland.
Do you expect to take an action against Greenland?
I don't want to talk about Greenland. Talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days.
On Venezuela, we talked so much about energy.
By the way, I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
What would the justification be, sir? What would the justification
to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
They thought that was a great move.
what would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification be?
I don't want to talk about Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it. And they know that.
Once again, mask off. This is the regime. They want Cuba. They want Colombia. They want Greenland. They probably want Mexico because Trump has threatened them before. They definitely want Canada because Trump has threatened them before, the 51st state. This is a rogue regime going crazy, going off the rails. Our allies are totally rethinking their allegiance to us. And let me just close off with this this final great quote from Trump that really shows where his head is at and how he's thinking about this.
But we can't take a chance after having done this incredible thing last night of letting somebody else take over, where we have to do it again. We can do it again, too. Nobody can stop us. There's nobody that has the capability that we have. When I watch that war in Russia going on and on and on and everybody dying, and it's like it's primitive. It's primitive. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Could you tell it?
So here we are, folks. America first. Make America great again by invading other countries. I really don't remember Trump ever campaigning on invading other countries, on kidnapping foreign leaders, because I think if he did, nobody would have voted for him. But now that he's in office, now that he's in power, he's ripped the mask off. He's doing and saying absolutely brazen things. And he knows that no one can stop him. He knows that he has deteriorated all the checks and balances that were once on him, at least in his first term. And he knows that he's essentially a dictator at this point. He's doing all kinds of dictator things. This whole operation in Venezuela, he went in there without congressional authorization, which is required by law. But, they find these little loopholes like we're not at war. No, this is an indictment. We're arresting him. This is a law enforcement operation. All these little loopholes to do regime change in the end. It's like another way of doing regime change. It's crazy that it's 2026 now, Mike, and we have all of these crazy, insane problems at home. We have crises. We have an economic crisis right now. We have a joblessness crisis right now. We have tariffs that he screwed over our entire economy with right now. And he's going on pretending like we're in the golden age and everything is fine and everyone is great. But he's playing chess with the map of the earth, having fun like it's a board game or something. And the people, I believe, at home are suffering. And it's no surprise because his approval rating is at like 36% only after 1 year. I mean, this is the guy who broke the record for bombing as many countries as anyone else in 1 year. 8 countries he bombed just last year. That is insane. Mike, what are we doing here?
Well, I think when it comes to board games, I think we're thinking of Risk, and Risk is exactly the word to put it on here, because imperialism has never worked for us in the past. Maybe it'll work under Trump. I don't know. We haven't seen Trump be this imperialist before, but I don't think so. The history doesn't support that. And so it's a huge risk, and they are gambling and they are betting that the rewards they reap for the destruction they cause will outweigh all of the mayhem, all of the chaos, all of the misery, both abroad and here at home. As you mentioned, Emmanuel, I think nobody in the MAGA movement, or at least many people in the MAGA movement, aren't happy with what he's doing. You know, this is not America first. This is imperialism. This is, okay, we've got some issues at home, but let's focus on rebuilding Venezuela. He literally said, we will make Venezuela great again. So he's already promising to build up Venezuela, and he needs to do that quickly because they've pretty much plunged Venezuela into pure chaos currently. So they need to fix that. And I saw he says it's going to take 18 months to even get their oil drills online and whatnot. So we're committed to Venezuela for at least a year and a half as of today, at least. And as we saw with Iraq, a year and a half quickly turns into 3 years, quickly turns into 5 years, 10 years. Who knows what the future looks like? But with that said, I think the most important thing to highlight here is a few things that you brought up. Number one, Trump did not notify Congress before carrying out this strike. Yet he clearly said while he was on Air Force One, he was asked about notifying Congress and then asked about notifying the oil companies. And he mentioned, we notified the oil companies before the raid and after. So you don't notify Congress, but you notify corporations. So how can you claim this is like a moral high ground? This is about justice. This is about politics. This is about changing the hemisphere and making it safe, when you're clearly green lighting your oil barons and saying like, okay, we're good to go. Yet Congress and the people, by extension, because Congress represents the people, are left in the dark. So that's definitely a big deal that you brought up, Emmanuel. This other thing about this is a whole new way of doing regime change, where instead of going in with the full-blown military invasion and boots on the ground and whatnot, you just kind of come in and extract the leader, or you do very precise maneuvers or strikes. And I think this is something that Trump also mentioned in a separate interview, where he was asked about these kind of tactics. And he says, I looked at Russia and what Putin's doing with Russia, and it's so primitive. Which the implication there is, hey, Putin, you're doing it wrong. You should be doing it like this. If you want to succeed in Ukraine, maybe you should kidnap Zelensky and take Zelensky out. And just for what it's worth, Zelensky stayed in power after his elections because of this war with Russia. And Russia's entire claim to Ukraine, the whole reason it started, is because they were liberating people. We're going to liberate these Russians from Ukraine and their corrupt government, which I think he even said that Zelensky's like a Nazi and things like this. So Russia used the same argument that we're using against Maduro. It's pretty much the same. There are some differences, sure, but the point is, by us participating in this, by doing this, we lose all moral high ground to judge Russia for going into Ukraine and to judge China for what it wants to do with Taiwan and what it's already done with Hong Kong. So we, unfortunately, as we see, Trump is now making more and more threats to other countries. The list is growing, not shrinking. Who knows? He may commit to these. He may not. It's very up in the air. Nobody kind of really knows. And I know a lot of people applaud this and say, oh, it's 4D chess. He's keeping our enemies guessing. People should feel uneasy. They should feel on edge. They should remain vigilant. They should be alert. But I think that's just incompetence, because you should be focusing on things here at home. We should have a clear plan. We still don't have any form of replacement to the Obamacare subsidies. So how are we going to manage what's going on with our own healthcare as prices skyrocket? And then you've also got the Epstein files. The Epstein files are illegally being withheld currently, and nobody seems to notice or do anything about it. And these wars are only going to distract from that. And I think the number one most important thing about these wars is this idea of might is right, where he and Stephen Miller both assert nobody's going to stop us. Nobody's going to step to us. If we take Greenland, nobody's going to do shit about it. And I think that's a very dangerous mentality. Because that's the exact mentality that China had when they took Hong Kong. Who's going to fuck with China? Nobody. Nobody's going to mess with China. Why would anybody get involved with China? So it's better to just let them do what they want. And that's that. And now Hong Kong is part of China. Whereas, if we just take Greenland, well, now it's ours. And, Denmark, you can go do whatever. NATO, whatever, we're doing things our way, and it's our way or the highway. And that's just, again, might is right. This has nothing to, if people are going to want to make the claim that it's moral or that it's justified, you have to justify it. You can't just say, because we're the strongest, we get to decide. That doesn't make it right. These are humans. These are people. They deserve to have freedom. They deserve to elect their own leaders. They deserve to do what they want with their own natural resources. If they want to sell them to us, or even if they don't want to sell them to us, that's their decision. But for us to say, you know what, we don't like it, we're going to come in and do what we want, to me, that's one of the most un-American things you can do. America was founded as a colony of Britain, and we rebelled because we said, screw this. You guys are taxing us without representation. We're not going to stand for it. And that's essentially what we're now doing in Venezuela. And it's what we're threatening to do in all these other countries. So to me, it's the most un-American thing ever to see imperialism like this. And I hope more people condemn it. But so far, it looks like the Trump administration is just plowing forward.